They went east seeking Chairman Mao, but Mao was dirt poor then and near death in 1975. Chairman Mao might have already died or was about to die. Either he was already dead or close to it. So China was dirt poor back then. If they didn't go to China, who did they go to? They went to the Philippines. The big dictator in the Philippines was called Marcos, not Musk, Marcos. You know, like Engels Marcos, the same name as Marx. Older people all know that. He also has a very beautiful wife. What is this called? Imelda Marx. When I was a child, China's CCTV news broadcast keeps talking about Marx. He is the dictator of the Philippines, president who came to power in a coup. He needs money. Then Bank said, it's okay, you don't need to have money. You put the sugar. The Philippines has sugarcane plantations. You give me what? What about me? I'll give you 20 million ounces of silver. Then what? Didn't I already give you the silver? You take the silver to Saudi Arabia, hey, and you can directly exchange it for the oil and goods you urgently need. Then I take your sugar and the sugar refinery and the sugarcane plantations, and I can sell them for big money at the New York Commodity Exchange. This way, everyone is happy. What was his real purpose? His real purpose was that he needed money. He knew Marcos didn't have money, but Marcos had sugarcane in his hands. Sugarcane is as good as money. He wanted to use 20 million in silver to exchange for sugarcane. If this move had worked, his liquidity would have come back all at once, because he could have made silver into a global currency for international bulk commodity trading. Before, the currency for bulk trading was the US dollar. Before 1975, it was the US dollar. With this move, wouldn't that mean silver could also be used as currency? Would they let him do that? Think about it. Who controls the US dollar? New York, of course. That's obvious. It's an international currency. After the International Monetary Fund saw this news, they immediately contacted Marcos. The International Monetary Fund gave the Philippines an ultimatum. If you go through with this, don't ever come to the IMF for aid again or for loans. As a poor country, the Philippines had taken out a lot of loans from the IMF. So Marcos didn't want to offend a major power. No. He didn't want to offend a whole river for just a ladle of water. So President Marcos broke the agreement. The Hunt brothers, their funding chain was about to break. It's just like today. Then the price of silver immediately responded. Didn't I just say it had risen to $6 or $7? It dropped to $4. Isn't that the same ratio as today? From $6, it fell to $4. From $1.50, it rose to $6. From $6, it dropped to $4. You guys who've never seen the world before, in this recent round, silver prices haven't gone up fourfold, right? $1.50 to $6, that's a fourfold increase, right? Then it dropped to $3. It fell by half again, pretty much. So, is that the end of the story? A lot of people say the story is over. No, it's not over. He wants revenge. He'll go for another short squeeze. The Hunts will go for another short squeeze. The Hunts are ready. It was already spring. Spring had passed. It was April. He went to Musk. He returned to Texas, his hometown, Texas. He looked at Austin, looked at Dallas, and saw the vast farmlands of America. Why isn't anyone planting soybeans this year? Soybeans are just the same as what we call dadu. That's what we use for soybean oil. The US usually plants a lot of them. It's also a major commodity, but they didn't plant any. That's strange. If nothing was planted, there definitely won't be a harvest in the fall. No harvest at all. But COMEX still dares to keep trading soybeans. Now it's my turn for revenge. You bastards tried to mess with me. You old money crowd tried to screw me over. The establishment, the shadow government, the deep state. All in on soybeans. He started secretly buying soybeans from spring onward, right after the soybeans were planted. He calculated it precisely, that there would definitely be a soybean shortage in the fall. He kept increasing his positions all summer. When autumn came, he suddenly revealed his hand. All in on soybeans. He made massive purchases. A single American investor could only buy up to 3 million bushels of soybeans. Bushels. That's a trading unit. The limit was 3 million bushels. The two brothers got their relatives involved. Altogether, they bought 22 million bushels. All in, time to deliver. That year in the entire United States, there weren't even 22 million bushels of soybeans available. So the price of soybeans shot straight up. Damn, they made a killing. At this point, COMEX started playing dirty. Just like what's happening today. Once I finish telling you about silver and COMEX, you'll understand what's going on today. Today's market is COMEX playing dirty tricks. COMEX dares to draw the line today. Why didn't Hunt dare to draw the line? Why didn't he dare to draw the line with Hunt? Because Hunt was also an American. He wasn't that weak. What did he do? He turned to the law. At this point, even the crooks had to talk about the law. COMEX took the Hunt brothers to court. Why? On what grounds did they sue them? Because the two of them were only allowed to buy 6 million contracts. But they found a lot of proxies to hold for them and ended up buying 22 million contracts. This was considered illegal means. Right, isn't it? It's like borrowing someone else's ID card. Of course, Hunt wouldn't accept that. Hunt said, damn it, if this was my first time doing this, I'd admit it. All those old money families on the east coast of America, like the Rockefellers or the damn Rothschilds, who hasn't done the same thing? Why do you have to go after me? Why do you have to sue me? But it didn't matter. This time they just happened to catch you. So the lawsuit dragged on until autumn had passed. After the settlement was completed, the verdict was in favor of the Hunt family. It was true that everyone else did the same thing. So let's just drop it. Let's just call it off. Let's call it off. Damn it, this is just playing dirty. And then Hunt did the math. Because of this, the price went back up, right? But even so, the Hunt brothers still made $40 million. They didn't lose money. Of course, the billions of dollars in unrealized gains were all gone. They made $40 million. This created a deep-seated grudge from then on. In 1978, things took a dramatic turn. The political situation in Saudi Arabia stabilized. A new king took the throne. 2 sheikhs arrived. Isn't it called a sheikhdom? 2 sheikhs came. They gave the 2 of them some money because the Saudis believed that silver was going to rise in price. Let's do this together. So they set up a company in the British Virgin Islands, Bermuda. They established a company. It was called International Metals Investment Company. The Hunt brothers held half the shares. The 2 Saudi sheikhs held the other half. The 4 shareholders accumulated a lot of real gold and silver. They went, can you imagine? In 1978, it started again. Before 1975, it was $1, $1.50. It rose to $6. Then it fell back down to $3. In 1978, with Saudi Arabia's money involved, wasn't it $3? They suddenly pushed it up to $16. Feel free to look it up to verify. It rose from $3 or $4 to $16. It increased 4-fold again. But the Hunts weren't done yet. It went up another 4 times. On the New York Exchange, that is COMEX, they held 43 million ounces of silver. I just told you about this earlier. They had already bought 55 million ounces. They bought another 44 million ounces. In just a few months, the price of silver was just like it is today. It suddenly shot past $16 an ounce. All the American financial groups went crazy. They started buying too. Damn. It's just like now. Well, they wanted to wipe out all the COMEX shareholders on the East Coast. The old money groups were demanding delivery. They followed along, trying to monopolize silver to achieve a leap in wealth. Damn you, COMEX. COMEX was finished. As a market maker, they had no silver left to deliver. This kind of situation happened again. By the end of 1979, back then, 2 exchanges existed, including one in Chicago and one in New York. Together, they only had 12 million ounces of silver bullion left. Just 12 million ounces. The Hunt brothers had bought 43 million ounces worth of contracts. How could they possibly deliver? And with others following the trend and buying in, there were even more buy orders. What could they use to settle these? And the Hunt brothers were really ruthless. The Hunt brothers only accepted silver bullion. They refused to roll over the contracts. You know, the meaning of rolling over a contract is basically giving the exchange a way out. It means postponing the delivery. If you don't have it, if you don't have the goods, it's fine. As long as you accept my price. The shorts get liquidated and forced out and give me the money. I'll let your exchange keep running. But if I make you deliver the goods, you're finished, because how the hell could you? You'd have no choice but to declare bankruptcy because you don't have 43 million ounces. Okay, the Hunt brothers said, we want delivery. Damn, the Hunt brothers want delivery. They wanted to set up the Dallas Exchange. So what happened at the end of 1979? It still hasn't happened to this day. It hasn't happened today. The COMEX, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, changed the trading rules. You could only sell, not buy. Even today, the silver market still hasn't. Today, the silver market has already seen COMEX playing dirty tricks. They've drawn the line, but they haven't changed the rules yet. But they have changed them before. At the end of 1979, that's exactly what they did. Only selling was allowed, no buying. All investors, starting today, are no longer allowed to buy silver positions exceeding 3 million ounces. All silver futures contracts, whether for forward delivery or for near-term delivery, are not allowed. Anything over 3 million ounces, not a single one is allowed. No buying is allowed, and the margin requirements were greatly increased. Originally, the margin was about 10% to 15%. Now, the margin had to be raised to 25%. Only selling was allowed. And the margin was increased. I'm taking your money like sucking your blood. Exchange margins are cash and must be deposited. Otherwise, your position will be liquidated. So only selling was allowed. Anyone holding more than 3 million ounces in contracts had to. This was December 1979. Had to, within 3 months, that is before February 1980, sell them off. Hunt immediately sued these bastards. He took them to court. He said that these exchanges were both the referees and the players. They must be on the other side of my trades. They were shorting. You know, even today, COMEX is shorting. They've lost so much that they've gone crazy. Why? Let me tell you. The history I'm talking about is exactly what's happening today. Today, all the physical silver on COMEX isn't enough for the longs to take delivery. And today, there are still shorts behind COMEX. A lot of American banks are involved. They've put a lot of money into it. If they don't crash the price of silver, American banks will go bankrupt. Of course, COMEX would also go bankrupt. There's no new playbook in history when there's no physical supply. It's still the same old playbook. Of course, later on, the court investigation proved that the Hunt brothers, Bunker Hunt and Herbert Hunt's accusations were true. The Chicago Board of Trade and the New York Mercantile Exchange, their shareholders were indeed holding short positions. Those who held large short positions made huge profits because they wiped out the Hunts. But that's all after the fact. The Hunts had already lost, and the American courts take forever to make a ruling. It took several years, so by the time they found out, it was completely useless. The Hunts were already finished by then. So Hunt said directly in court, there was never that much silver in the market. Otherwise, these people would never have been so shameless, openly changing the rules.